We're live.
Oh, here we go.
Heck yeah. Okay. I was literally about to just be so pissed. Well, guys, I'm going to throw on a countdown. And it was going to be really, really cool. We had all those things set up, and then StreamYard wanted to crack the bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. What up, guys?
We're back.
Only 24 minutes late. It's all good. Not necessarily our fault. StreamYard was tripping. I guess a bunch of people were on there going live and stuff like that. But we are back with episode number 14 of the Kind of Culture Podcast. Your host, Ian Tatum, with Ian Rapinick. Coach, how you doing, man?
Doing well. Glad to be back. Glad we got the stream working. I was a little worried there for a minute.
Yeah.
A little worried.
No doubt.
How are you?
Man, I'm great. We were talking a little bit before. Spring ball is going good. It rained on Tuesday, so we had to go in the gym. And anybody that coaches know how that goes.
Miserable.
You kind of lose a day. But we were able to hit it back, and now we are. We're off on Wednesday because there's supposed to be a camp that we're taking our kids to, satellite camp for UNC Pembroke.
Oh, nice.
But the rain canceled that. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot I saw that.
Yeah, so rain canceled that, and so we're unable to get there. So we lost today on Wednesday. But we're going tomorrow as well. So
nice.
We'll see how it goes. But day number 2, kids are getting after it, man. Love the numbers, love the energy. Kind of telling you, I have a really good group up front, and our skill guys are really talented and hungry. So putting it all together, I think our defense is going to be dirty. So
yeah,
man. It's not streaming to my Twitter, so I'm trying to get that together. But in the meanwhile, how's things down east, man?
It's going good, man. Getting towards the end of the school year. We are 1 week away from the first final exam. Just counting. But, we're doing good. Free physicals today at the school.
There you go.
Had some stuff, getting ready for football. So, been doing some stuff in the field house the last couple of days, trying to get it ready. Got some upgrades coming in that I'm looking forward to. So, it's about that time. I know we said that at the beginning that it was about that time for spring ball, but now it's really about that time.
Hey, man, you can't replicate how important it is. I think spring ball is very important. I was listening to some other guys, and I didn't know this. The way they do it in Georgia is that if you have spring ball, you can only have one preseason scrimmage. If you don't have spring ball, then you can have 2. So,
do they play a spring game down there?
I'm not sure about that.
I wonder if that's what it is.
Yeah. With that being said, I can understand not wanting to do spring ball,
right? Especially
with you got your kids, in other sports, and so hey, are we going to try and battle the other sports? I'm trying to let's schedule it. Hey, track. You gonna do your track thing, and then you come to us, or vice versa. And so, not doing that, well, let's just get an extra scrimmage,
Right.
So I can understand, but for us, it's not really an issue. So
right. What I really like is, I'm 100% transparent. I told our kids this. The spring hasn't looked great since I've been, since I've done spring ball in general, because we have so many kids that are playing other sports, and that's fine. The thing that I like about it is it allows us to really work with our younger kids more, than obviously in the season. So versus whether it's JV or varsity guys, it doesn't really matter. We treat them all the same in the spring. everybody's together the entire time and all that stuff. So for us, it's always very beneficial. It's always very beneficial.
Yeah, it's kind of like that the playoffs, where you can kind of get the extra practices with your JV guys.
Right.
Is huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, guys, go ahead and join. If you're joining in, you can tell us who's here. We already have a couple of comments. Our number one fan, Coach Trotter.
Oh,
Go. So we hit up only 6 days of spring due to rain. It never fails. When football's back,
Yeah.
it rains. It does. Either it's hot as crap or it rains.
yep.
Which actually has been nice out here.
It really has. It's been nice here too.
Yeah, we have 16 players a day with 25 total. Straight ball. Yeah. Plus, y'all are at 1A, and we're not that much cooler at 2A.
Right.
So, yeah, we've had good numbers. Not just because I think it's just excitement.
Yeah.
New head coach.
Right.
New coaches for the most part. We got new helmets. They're white. It's more. I call it pearl because it ain't just white.
Right.
Got
a little gloss in there too.
Yeah, a little gloss. So they're really nice, and so I think the hype is there. Speaking of, there's Coach Honeycutt. What up? What up?
What's up, Coach?
Yeah. So we've been averaging.
The man.
Coach Cotton, appreciate you hanging out.
Tatum, we got a college coach on the podcast right now.
Hey, man. Hey, appreciate Coach for stopping by. Where's the coach at?
He's at Georgia Tech now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Bounced around a little bit. He was a GA at ODU when I was there.
Oh, okay.
Good dude.
Yeah, man.
He's going to be making millions in like 2 years. Can't wait to see it.
Hey, man. Write a check to recruit.
Right. Hey, we'll take a donation. The GOAT.
Yeah. I didn't count today. It's on me, but we had 44 our first day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's real good.
I don't know if Honeycutt got a number today, but I'm flying around. But yeah, guys, you can see by the title, the topic for tonight is interviewing for a head coaching job. Obviously, something I have know nothing about. So it's going to be a lot of kind of more talking to Rapid and anybody on here that are head coaches, which we have several head coaches that watch right now. Please join in. Give us your feedback. If you have longer answers, if you feel like typing it all out. If not, shorthand it, and we'll try to decipher what you mean. 45 today. Yep. Hey.
You're adding.
Yeah. And so I'm going to kind of keep being like a moderator. And then I have a list of questions. Shout out to Coach Four out in California. His service, 8 Laces, not sponsored, 8 Laces.
Wish we were, though.
Yeah. He has a whole question database that coaches have sent in questions that they've received from interviews, and Coach Rapid has some things we're going to go through. So we want to be interactive. So if you have interviewed for a head coaching job, even if you didn't get it, come holler at us, and we'll get into it. But kind of had on the agenda was kind of what to prepare, like a packet. What to print off and give to the people that are in the interview, maybe do's and don'ts, maybe some admin. I forgot what I called it. It was admin curveballs.
Yeah.
And then,
that's what you called it.
Yeah, and then some interview questions. But because I'm kind of throw it at you real quick. This is the age old statement. When do you know that you're ready to be a head coach? And I know, and that is the answer.
I still don't know.
Every head coach will tell you never know until you're sitting in that seat. So I guess maybe not. When do you think you're ready to be a head coach? When do you think you're ready to start looking? And then kind of 2-part question, and I'll kind of bring it around if you need me to. When do you think that you're ready to start looking? And then on top of that, what should you be looking for?
Yeah, I was very spoiled at the high school that I first started coaching at, which was the high school I went to. Yeah. Coach Jupiter Wilson, who's at Hickory Ridge now in Charlotte, or outside of Charlotte. Coach Jay, appreciate you coming to hang out.
Coach Jay.
But all we did was coach football, man, we never had to worry about anything else. We would help with passing out equipment and all that stuff. But we had any issues, any parents, anything like that, like we literally just coached ball. Um, and I've apologized to him for this multiple times. I honestly started looking for head coaching jobs because I thought I could do better. And my first year, I called him like week 2, and I was like, "Coach, I gotta apologize." And he was like, "Why?" I said, "I thought that I could be a head coach, and I have absolutely no clue." He started laughing. He was like, "Man, it's a lot, ain't it?" I said, "Yes, it's a whole lot." I think if you're an assistant who genuinely cares, about kids, and I don't mean like cares like when they're playing well or hey, how you doing, that kind of thing. I'm talking about like you go home and you worry about the kids on your team. I think that's the most ready that you can be because you'll never be ready for all the things that you have to do as a head coach. Um, in my opinion, I there's still stuff that happens right now that I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing. Um, I think part of it too is like the people that you've worked for, the people that you've worked with, and having the ability to call them and be like, it may be, man, you wouldn't believe what happened today, or how would you handle this situation? Um, I think that's a big part of it too. We've talked about mentors on here a couple of times, and having a situation that comes up and being able to call somebody to figure out, maybe they play devil's advocate, maybe they, say, hey, you're completely right. That's how I would handle it too. And having multiple people, I think, is a big thing as well. Because you'll always get a different perspective, really, no matter how you talk to. But I don't think there's ever a day that you wake up and you're like, all right, I can do it. Let's go be a head coach. Um, because there's so much, and I don't mean so much that like you're not able to sleep and stuff like that, at least not for me. But you have to be very, very efficient with your day, in my opinion. Especially if you're a teacher who's teaching 3 classes. Um, you have to make sure that you have as much planned out as you can. Like tomorrow, I'm mowing the practice field during my planning, mowing the game field after school. I already know. Um, so, and obviously having, if you're married, having a wife who supports what you love to do is a big part of it as well, because, you know, not only just like the time that you're away, but one of the big things that we preach as family, forget about me, I love you. I'll die on that hill for the rest of my entire life as long as I coach. And really, I mean, me and my wife talk about it all the time. Like she'll be like, "Hey, do you want to make dinner?" And I'm like, "Not really." She's like, "Come on, Ian, forget about me, I love you." And guess who cooks dinner? So, I want my family to be a part of the program. In the summertime, my family comes to practice a lot. My son will be running around and tackling dummies after tackling circuit and all that stuff. So, that's a big part of it. But I really don't think like there's ever a time that you're like, okay, I can handle this. Because you never know what the next day is going to look like. Today might have been super easy, and during my planning, I was watching film and hanging out and this and that. But tomorrow, I may show up and I may have a kid who calls me when I'm on the way to work and says, "Hey, I missed the bus. My mom can't take me to school. Can you pick me up?" Like, those are the things that I think, if you genuinely care about that stuff and you really want to make sure, no matter what, whether it's the best player on your team or the worst player on your team, if you really want them truly in your heart, are worried and concerned for their well being, I think you're ready to be a head coach.
Um, kind of go into maybe what should you be looking for? Like now you feel like you're ready, okay,
Right.
whatever that means, and now you're like, okay, I'm kind of you can't just apply to every job that just comes up. We know guys that do that, and
Yeah.
they get they get a negative light. So what should you be looking for? Should it maybe obviously should be geographic.
Right. That helps for sure.
You can't just be like, well, I'm ready to make this jump, and then you're applying for jobs 2-3 hours away.
Right.
Kind of what I guess you're not in the market to leave, but
Yeah.
when you were,
Right.
or look around, what kind of drew your eye or things you wanted, non-negotiables, I guess.
I think if it is somewhere further away, you got to make sure that it's somewhere that your family can still be supported, or you, if it's just you. Obviously, growing up in Chesapeake, my family, my wife's family are both in Chesapeake, and Hereford is an hour away, 45 minutes, whatever, somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour. So we know at the end of the day, if we need our parents, if we want to go see our parents, we were up there last weekend. We go up there fairly frequently, whether it's to see our friends or to see our families. And so I think if you're really family oriented, and I don't mean that to like sound disrespectful, but if you're somebody who you want to go to Sunday dinner at your parents' house or something like that, geographics I think is a pretty big thing. If you're somebody who wants to get out on their own and see new places and stuff like that, probably isn't as big of a thing. But I think, somewhere that you can enjoy living, I think is a big part of it. Hereford is not the same as Chesapeake, obviously. Um, but I love the water. I love the country. I love all that stuff. So for me, it has a lot of draws. There's a lot of stuff that isn't here, obviously, but, it's something that I love about it. And then, you look at admin, I think is a big part of it as well. Who the principal is, where they've been, talk to people that you may know that either know the principal or might have worked for them, or somebody that knows somebody that worked for them. That can give you like a real honest answer of who that person is. And I don't necessarily mean like as an administrator. I mean like what kind of person are they? Do they like athletics? Do they Are they indifferent when it comes to athletics? Um, I think we talked about that like one of the first episodes about, questions that we've been asked, or, when we asked our administrator, I can't remember exactly what it was, but that's a big part of it too. And then I think the biggest thing too that may not go as like as emphasized as I think it should be is athletic director. Um, you know, I don't know how it is everywhere, but my office is right next to my athletic directors. I talk to them every day. I know we've talked about it on here. He's one of my best friends. And, you know, you got to make sure that your vision for the program fits inside his vision or her vision for the athletic department. Obviously 99% of the time they're going to be in the interview as well. But you don't want to try and fit a square peg through a circle hole just because you want to be a head coach. And I've tried to do that before. When I first got my first head coaching job, I just wanted to be a head coach, and I didn't really pay too much attention to red flags or anything that was like of real concern, because I just thought that's how it was. I thought it was supposed to be like that. But I think community support is a big one too. Obviously that's probably one of the harder things to figure out, because you go in the interview and, if you have questions about the school or anything like that, they're going to make it sound like it's the greatest school that's ever, been created. But, trying to get a gauge of things, maybe you go to the interview, and then after the interview, you go into a couple, restaurants or something like that to see, are these people wearing like Perquimans shirts? Are they selling our booster club stuff at the store, or whatever the case is? Like little things like that to me is a big tell of, are these people going to want me to be out after a year because, I'm trying to change the culture and we aren't playing great on the field, or anything like that. I think there's so many different ways that you can look at it, you know, between in the building and outside of the building to determine like if it's a fit for you. Um, But I think in addition to that is like, do you expect to have to maintain fields?
Yeah.
If you're somebody that doesn't know how to do any of that, that's probably something that you need to ask like in your interview. Um, and I would say at least like where I'm at and around here, you're probably going to get slid to the side. Um, there's a big expectation that our facilities look the way that they do. And it's a sense of pride. You know what I mean? It's a sense of pride that I have. It's a sense of pride, that our school has and all that stuff. Like, I don't want people to come to our games and just have a game. Like, I want it to be an experience. I want them to look out of the stands onto the field and be like, man, that grass is gorgeous. Stuff like that, like to me, goes a long way. But to answer your question, I don't think there's ever a time that you're ready to be a head coach.
Yeah. Charter says, don't make your first job your last. We can't always take over perennial powers, but make sure it is somewhere that supports athletics as a whole, football specifically, and has the resources in place.
Yeah.
You don't want to end up at a place where football it's on the back burner or
Right.
it's never been on the stove.
Right.
Yeah, that's tough. When looking at those type of things, you definitely want something that either obviously the job's open for a reason. Either somebody took a better job, or they haven't been great,
Right.
or they've been great at one time, and so you need to like kind of restart that flame. And
Yeah.
that happens a lot. Sometimes when it's the right people, they get the job. It doesn't always happen though. And like he's saying, don't make your first job your last. You just like I have to be a head coach. I have to be a head coach, and you apply to anywhere. And we know the schools in your states. You guys, the schools around your areas that that they haven't won.
Right.
There's a reason why they haven't won. And don't think that you're Superman and I'm about to go in there when and other people probably that were more prepared than you are weren't able to do much. So
that's why I respect you and Coach Simmons so much, because you two could be head coaches tomorrow. But I mean, scoff or whatever you call that noise if you want to. But the thing is like the two of you are prepared, but you're waiting for the right job.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do. I mean, I can't say it from experience because I didn't do that. I mean, and I'm back at performance, but the job is 180 degrees different than it was.
Yeah.
But I think to Trotter's point, supports athletics and specifically football. The reality of it is the sport that we coach and what we do. This may make people mad, but this is the truth. It allows a lot of other sports to play.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when we're bringing in $5,000 from a game, that buys a lot of other sports equipment. So, they have to understand that. And I'm not saying that football is like more important than other sports or anything like that, but I mean, to me, that's the reality of it. Like if it isn't for football, then a lot of sports aren't able to have a season because they aren't able to pay for, things that they need. So I think, that's a big part too, is like, does your admin understand that football is very, very important to your school? A lot of discipline issues could potentially be kids that are playing football.
Yeah.
And when those kids who are discipline issues want to play football and they do, and they buy into the culture of your program and they do all the right things and all that stuff, it takes away a lot of those discipline issues. So, I think obviously with it being the sport that touches the most kids in your building, as compared to the other sports, I mean, and then, understanding that football is very important, not only from that sense, but the sense that, we make a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to come watch football games. So, winning or losing for that matter. I think that's a big part of it, and that's an easy way to see like what the support is do they understand that stuff?
Yeah. All right, so we think we know we think we want to be head coaches. We think we've narrowed down some jobs that have come open that look good to us. We want to kind of dive in more. So what should we prepare? Like what should we go into it? Because as an assistant, you want to be professional, you want to get a
Right.
job, but especially in the world today of education and especially athletics and coaching, for the most part, on average places, if you can pass the background check and you love working with kids, I mean, you can get a coaching job.
Yeah.
You might not be paid,
Right.
or you might get a stipend. You might not be a coordinator, which is fine, but if you just want to coach, right? You can get a job, right?
Right. Absolutely.
No one's turning away good help. So
Right.
good people that could be good help. So this is a whole other deal, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to impress people before you even get in a room.
Right.
So and first they always say first appearances are is huge.
Oh yeah.
But they're not meeting you. They're meeting a piece of paper that's on a PDF. So
Absolutely.
what are some things that maybe you should send to an AD, and then what are some things that if you are we'll get to that in a minute. Like if you're blessed enough to get an interview, but like when contacting an AD, what will be some things that you should plan to do and send to them?
Yeah, I mean, all the jobs I've ever applied for, I've always obviously applied for the job like on the school district website, and then if I don't know who the AD is, I'll look up on the school website who the AD is, get their email address, and I'll send them my resume, cover letter, a couple reference letters, not all of them. If you're a guy who has 15 reference letters or whatever the case is, um, I send like my top three, the names that I think the AD may know, whether it be, a prominent high school football coach in the area. Obviously, somebody that you've worked for is big, and then maybe if you have, uh, you know, I I don't know, a specific person that you're like, man, when this letterhead pops up on the AD's email, like he's gonna think it's really cool. All those things. I think those are a good start. Obviously you're not trying to give the AD your entire like how you want to lead the program because they're not going to look at it. They probably don't even look at the recommendation letters or the reference or any of that stuff. But I like to make like a personal touch to it by sending the AD everything. Like I said, the resume, cover letters, and a couple references. Let them know that you applied for the job. Let them know that you're interested. Obviously, if they have any questions, to reach out. You'd love an opportunity to interview for the position. Leave your phone number, email, all that stuff. And then, you know, if you get an email back, I mean, I'll be honest too. I don't know if I've ever gotten an email back when I send that. But if you get one, maybe do something to continue the conversation. So that way, when they're sitting in the principal's office and they have a stack of, the applicants, sorry, they have a stack of applicants, they can say like, oh, I've been emailing back and forth with Ian Rapinick. Let's check him out. And then they can look in your stuff in more detail. But I I think, the more that you can do to continue the conversation, whether it's like asking, hey, what are you looking for in your ideal head coach candidate, or um, little things like that. And I know it sounds kind of like you're like reaching or being annoying or whatever the case is, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, maybe annoying gets you the job.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's annoying or it's more like doing your due diligence, right?
Persistent,
Yeah, be like
there's a lot of better ways to say it. Sorry,
yeah,
I shouldn't use it.
but showing that you care,
Right, right.
you know, good friend of mine, Philip Russ, who's the head coach at East Rutherford here in North Carolina. He's also the AD there.
Right.
So I've talked to him before, and kind of was like, hey, what are you what are you looking at when you hire? He's not hiring a football coach, but he's hiring other coaches,
Right.
head coaches in the program. And he's like, yeah, we look at cover letter, resume, right? We're kind of looking at experience, kind of looking at in like cover letter, and then kind of mutual, who do we know? And then eventually, like you said, they'll look at like in more detail. Like, hey, I have 7 candidates that I kind of like, or whatever. Let's say 10 candidates, and I want to interview 6 of them. All right, so now I got to dwindle it down, and then they're gonna look at the fine details. They're gonna look
Right.
at who have you worked for, where have you worked, how long did you work there,
Yep.
and kind of references. Call maybe not call a reference right away, but if they notice the name, like, hey, I know Ian Rapinette, and he said this guy right here worked for him for 4 years. All
Right.
right, I'm gonna call Rap. Hey, this guy, blah blah, and then you have a great conversation. You may move up and down a board. It really is who you know,
No question.
and but you do have to have a resume to go along with that.
Right.
You could be the most known person in the world, but if you ain't done nothing,
Right.
how valuable are you? So yeah, 100%. That kind of gets you the first look,
Right.
and then kind of trying to get you into the room, which is
Yeah.
what everybody's
I,
goal is.
I think the biggest thing, exactly, if the goal is the interview. If you can get the interview, at that point it's just selling yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hate talking about myself. So interviews are difficult for me.
Yeah.
I really don't like it. But at the end of the day, it's you showing whoever's in on your panel, or if it's just one person, which has only happened to me once, and it was at Norview when I already worked there. But it's selling them that you're the right fit for what they want. Now, the flip side of that too, I think, is, again, you don't want to not be yourself in the interview, because then if you get the job and you're not yourself, then what do you do? So you may think that you're a good fit at a school, and you get in the interview and they may offer you the job, but if you don't agree with like the values, or what the administrators or whoever's in your interviews preaching, then you got to have the conversation and say, is this really the job for me? Because that's a real thing too. um and it's tough because, again, you apply for the job because you want to be the head coach of that school, but it may not be what's the phrase, like when you walk in, it may not be what you expected.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it as well.
All right, so we're in the interview. We're kind of just step by step right here.
I love it. You're killing it right now.
Yeah. Now we're in the interview, right? We got contacted, like, hey, we would love for you to come in this date, blah blah. All right, so pre-interview, what's kind of the mindset? Because I know everybody talks about, you obviously you want to dress to impress, you want to
Absolutely.
make a statement before you even get there, because when they first see you, you don't want it to be like you showed up in flip flops and jeans,
Right.
which I have heard of stories like that. Which
I've heard of
blows
a
my mind.
similar one. Yeah.
I am the least dress up person ever. Like I can count on one. I have 2 hands now. How many times I've ever worn a tie in my life? So that's not for me.
Right.
But if you want to get a job, you better dress up and look the part.
Right.
Professional, all those things. So outside of those, you have like your portfolio, if you want to call it that. You're taking that with you. What other thing? So what are you like preparing to go in there with to kind of wow them?
Yeah, so I mean, I have some, like a packet that I've made, and I didn't know that this was even a thing until I was interviewing for my first job, and I was talking to actually one of the guys who coached me in high school, who I stayed really close with, and I guess if I had a mentor, it would probably be him. And he gave me one that he had from somebody at some point, and I kind of built my, I guess, portfolio is what you would call it, off of that. And it has basically, to an extent, the whole way that I plan to run the program. It has my cover letter again, my resume again, all of my reference letters at that point. I don't know like what the ideal number of reference letters is. I normally have, I think I have like 6, somewhere between 5 and 7, maybe. Um, and then I have like a breakdown of the strength and conditioning program. Again, this isn't all like written out, exactly what we're going to do, anything like that. It's more about like bullet points, things that you want to reference throughout the interview. Another thing that I would recommend too is having a schedule made. So, if obviously, depending on when you're interviewing, say you're interviewing in February, right? You want to have the calendar made. Again, this isn't like concrete, you have to follow it down to the T, but I always go in with a calendar of what the spring's going to look like. And then the summer up to the first game. Doesn't take a lot of time. A lot of it's just copy and paste. Like if you're going to practice Monday through Thursday, then okay, practice, the whole way through the summer and all that stuff. So, I think that's a big thing. Obviously, it shows that you're organized. It shows that you have a plan, and it shows that you've been thinking about the future after you get the job. And another thing that I always try and do, and I don't know how this comes off. I've never asked anybody I've interviewed with. Is I always talk about like when I get the job. I don't know if that's weird. I mean, to some people it may be. I don't know, but always try and talk like in like a positive manner of like, well, year 2 I'm going to do this kind of thing. Um, you know, as part of that I call it a portfolio. I have like fundraising ideas, community engagement ideas, whether it be like a military appreciation night or a youth camp, or we do a night. Our first home game is always we do a canned food drive for the open door food pantry in town. Things like that are going to show, that you're committed for the long haul, I think is a big part too. I think hiring football coaches is difficult. I'm sure. Obviously, I've never done it from like hiring a head football coach, but I think it's difficult, and no administrator wants to do it, every 2 years or every year or every 3 years for that matter. So the more things that you can show that shows that you're committed, and I think involving the community and doing things with the community is a big part of it. I think that's big. One other thing that we talk about is like goal setting. So, part of it is asking kids what they want to do after they graduate high school. And I put a copy of the sheet that we fill out with every kid. I'm trying to think what else I have in there. Off the field programs that we do, with the kids, whether it be like grade checks and stuff like that. My coaching philosophy, our mission statement, my coaching style, and it winds up being, there's stuff that I add that's not like in my like base one that I print. Different things like a couple pages of the playbook. I've never been asked a football question in an interview.
Yeah.
But I'll put a couple pages in there just so they know that like I have a plan. But I think the biggest thing that every administrator wants to know when you go into an interview is, can you raise money to be self-sufficient or as self-sufficient as possible? Are you going to involve the community in what you're doing? Obviously, especially if you're in a smaller town. And that may be something that you talk about more in smaller towns than you would in, a more heavier populated area. And then, what is your goal 2 years from now and 5 years from now? Where do you want the program to be in 2 years? Where do you want the program to be in 5 years? What are you doing to continue to progress the program 2 years and 5 years? And that 2-year plan, 5-year plan are two things that I've been asked about a lot. But part of the portfolio, you want to, in my opinion, you want to make sure that you have enough that you take with you so that every person in the interview has a copy, including yourself. And, when you bring those, I've never asked how many people were going to be on an interview panel before. I normally bring like 8 to 10 just in case.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I would hate to be like, hey, y'all have to share or something like that. And then I let them keep them. So they may throw them in the trash as soon as I walk out the door. That's fine. But, I give it to them. And again, they may like what you heard. Like what they heard about something in the interview and go back and look at it. And that's helping you, obviously. So it takes a long time. I put them all in a binder. I put those divider things in like we had in high school or middle school or whenever it was for you. And, I print it all out, put it in sections. And if somebody says, hey, coach, what is your philosophy on recruiting or what is your philosophy on fundraising? Okay, go ahead and flip to the fundraising tab. Let's talk about it a little bit. It shows that what's on the paper. It shows that, you didn't just throw a bunch of stuff together and say, oh, well, I'll figure it out kind of thing. Because I think interviewing for a head coaching job is a very, very professional thing. You need to be prepared. I think, a lot of people kind of get written off because they're not as prepared as they could be, in my opinion.
All right. So I want to see how much you want to do this. So
okay,
we have these questions.
Right.
Would you want to go back and forth like a mock interview?
Do you want me to go like right now?
Yeah, like I throw a question at you, and you kind of like answer it the best you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the spot. I mean, I know you know your deal. So, and I can do it as well.
Okay.
So we're in the interview. Kind of, they're talking about everything from the school to, like you said, parents, and fundraising,
right,
and community, and leadership on the team, and how you help the team with the school, and all those type of things. So, I'm just going to read a couple. These are all questions that coaches have submitted that they've heard, and I'm kind of they're all really random. There's a lot of them.
I've tried to do that in an interview, and I just can't keep up well enough to write it down like as I'm at.
Yeah, no.
It's really impressive for the people who can.
Yeah. Here we go. I don't know if you ever. Let's do this. This is really off the wall. I love off the wall questions. So it says, "Have you ever been tossed from a game? And if so, what did you do? And what did you learn from it?"
I have not been tossed from a game. I've come pretty close a couple times, but when I get the whole conversation of like, coach, this is your last warning or I'm going to send you out of here, I typically take a step back after that. And really for me, like all the times that I've been close, it's been about safety stuff, not about like, hey, you missed a holding on 4th down. Yes, I get angry about that, but it's obviously passionate. But at the end of the day, like if it's something that I feel like is concerning the safety of a kid, that I'm going to have a conversation that's going to be, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but it's going to be a little bit more forward than if it's just like, hey, that was pass interference right there kind of thing. It's difficult being a referee also. So try and take care of them the best I can. Obviously there's some are better than others, but I think you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar or whatever the phrase is. So I try and be respectful. Again, like I said, unless it's like the safety of one of my players, I'm going to make sure that, they know that safety is what I'm concerned about.
All right, there's another one. How important is...
You said you were going to answer too.
Well, I'm going to give you two and I'll answer one.
Oh, okay.
So how important is the youth programs in the area, and how do you see yourself being involved in that?
I think it's one of the most important things that we do. Now, with coaching high school football, there's a lot of different ways that you're pulled every single day, right? Well, we've talked about it on a couple episodes about, one day you're a coach, the next day you're a psychologist, the next day you're a landscaper, all those good things. But, I think for a lot of places, the head football coach is a face that a lot of the times, unless you've earned the right to not be respected, is a pretty well respected person. So I think it helps with the excitement of football in your area. It helps with the development from youth league to middle school to high school. Obviously, the effort and the time that you put into the lower levels is going to come back and help you later on. One thing that we do is on our bye week, we go and watch our rec league play. A lot of times they play on Thursday or Friday night. I don't know why. It just happens to work out that way. But we'll go watch them play or practice. One thing that I did the last couple of years is I always take our older helmet decals to a rec league practice, the older kids. And once they're done with practice, I'll help the coaches put helmet decals on the kids' helmets. So just trying to find ways for the kids to be like, man, the head football coach was here. That's really cool. I want to go play for that guy. And then, I think the youth camp, which we're starting this year, the youth camp is a big one also, especially for the younger guys. So, like, we're doing 5 through 12 is what our youth camp is going to be this year. First time I've ever done one, so it'll be interesting. I'm really, really excited about it. But, the younger kids and obviously the younger that you can catch them and get them interested and excited about football, the more it's going to help you later on down the line. Because they're going to be able to say like, oh man, I want to go play for him and I'm going to go play for him. I just got to wait a couple of years. But the other thing we do too is like on Wednesdays, we finish practice a little bit early and we all go watch the middle school game as well. It helps because they play on our field, but it makes it to where we can go until almost our normal time. We only finish like 10 minutes early. And we all just, we'll get the kids taken care of, get them all out, and we'll walk over and watch those guys and, introduce ourselves and talk and, try and help coach and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. This year, the eighth graders that we have coming over are guys who were seventh graders when we first got here. So guys that we've built relationships with, even though it's not like an everyday kind of thing, but they know who we are. I think, and you've talked about it a lot on Twitter recently, but I think, the relationship piece of coaching is one of the more important things, if not the most important thing that we do. And you can look at it from really every perspective of your program. But if you have a relationship with that coach, before you even get to that school, now the wheels are already turning. You're starting to get that, this kid's going to run through a wall for me type thing a little bit earlier. So that way, when they get to high school, you're ready to roll. And obviously, like terminology wise, they may start to pick up on some stuff too. But yeah, I mean, youth football is really what drives what we do. If there wasn't youth football, then there probably wouldn't be high school football. And if there was, it wouldn't be very good.
Yeah.
So, I think the excitement thing for me, whether it be excited to get to high school, excited for the youth camp, excited for, the first year of rec department football or whatever the case is, that's something that goes a long way. And I think it helps get people in the stands on Friday night, in my opinion, because, if a kid goes home from football practice and is like, Mom, Dad, I saw Coach Rapp at rec football practice tonight, I want to go watch them play kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a really cool deal. So I try and be as involved as I can be without like taking over.
Yeah.
There's times that, like, I'll go watch practice, I'll drive by it and see they're practicing and stop and get out of my truck and just kind of watch for a little while, not say anything to anybody. But it's fun to me too because every kid looks like a little bobblehead with their helmet on.
Yeah.
So I enjoy doing it, and I think in order to build a total program, and what I mean by total program is like a well-rounded one. You have good engagement, a positive, view from the community and all that stuff. You got to be involved with as much as you can, whether it's, going to watch players play at other sports or getting involved with the youth programs, going to watch them play, going to watch them practice. You know, I'm giving them decals that we haven't used in 2-3 years that are just sitting there. So why not? I mean, at the end of the day, it's not that much money that you're losing. And, now that kid's going to go home and he's going to be jacked up because now he has a pirate head on the side of his helmet instead of it just being blank.
Yeah.
So that's something that we always look forward to.
Here's what I'll answer this one. It says, please tell us how you would handle a disgruntled parent that approaches you immediately after the game.
We've talked about this one a little bit.
We have. This is fun because we both have experienced.
We have.
Like this. So how to handle a disgruntled parent after a game. So you have to understand that parents are invested, obviously, in their child. So emotions will run high when it comes to dealing with what they may think is right or wrong with their child. In the code of conduct and like a contract that I would have parents and players sign, it clearly states that a 24-hour rule after sports activities, whether it be practice or whether it be games, is strictly enforced. Leave the coach alone 24 hours. And the reason we do that is because after 24 hours, if it is still an issue or still a big deal, then great, we can talk about it and we can have it in a controlled environment, 10% flared. On game night, now they kind of have soothed and we have thought and reflected after 24 hours, and we can have a conference. In that conference would be myself and an administrator, whether it be a principal, assistant principal, or an AD, and we can talk. If those things involve playing time, we don't discuss playing time when it comes to how much they were getting. We talk about practice. We talk about how their conduct is in practice, reps, like those different things. But if it is a safety issue or if it's just something like I want my child to play, we can talk about it, but it's not going to be it's going to be pretty one-sided, and we're going to understand why it's happening. So yeah, 24 hours usually will clear out a lot of issues on Friday night, because usually Saturday morning they get up and they're like, well, it wasn't that big a deal. Or I'll send coach a text or call him and we can handle it on the phone. And maybe it was just a misunderstanding. They talked to their son later on and it was like, no, I was just emotional and it really wasn't that big a deal. And most often than not, it'll take care of itself after that.
Yeah, I think a big part too, I think with that is having the kid there as well.
Yeah.
Because obviously the parent doesn't know like your rules and expectations as much as the kid does. So if you have that kid, like I've had meetings like that.
Yeah.
The good thing is we're not like very findable, quote unquote, on a weekend. So a lot of the time they're having to wait till Monday anyway. But you have that kid in there too, and the parent may say something. The kid's like, no, coach is right. Like, I know that this is how it's done, or, I know that what the rule is for if I do this, or, whatever the case is. I think that has helped a lot.
Yeah. Another one, and I'll answer this, is kind of, and I don't have experience with it, but I have my thoughts on it. Is kind of how will you, let me go back to it and read. How will you create excitement inside the building, school building, for the football team. And honestly, what I would do, and the first thing that some people don't think it's easy. I think it's easy just because based off of my experience and things that my wife does. My wife loves making shirts. She has a Cricut.
Oh, that's awesome.
She does that. She's done it for our youth program at the school. At the church, making shirts for their programs like that. And so instead of sometimes the budget is tight, you can't always purchase merchandise, but you can usually find shirts right cheaper. You go to Goodwill, you can find some shirts, and then black, white, school color, whatever, and then make a design and then print on those shirts and then hand them to staff.
Yep.
Go and talk to them. Hey, try to create some buy-in. Hey, we'd love for you to come out to a game. We'd love for you to be involved in any way you can. And then have your players do that. Have them pick a teacher, have somebody that they connect with,
Yep.
and then in turn, kind of let the staff know that you have their back. If Johnny is in class and he's on his phone or he's kind of being a clown, you've kind of created that relationship. Hey, I've given this teacher a gift. We've had a conversation. I want them to come to me with any issues, and kind of, we want them to know that, hey, football has the staff's back.
Right.
We would love to have theirs. So, get a token of appreciation. Whether it be a shirt, whether it be allowing somebody to come on and be like a game day kind of representative at the game. Let a teacher run out the tunnel. Let them stand on the sideline. Do something like that. And switch it up and rotate it. And let the kids pick them. That's usually you're going to kind of gain certain teachers that already know. Hey, Mr. Blank that teaches business. He loves football. He would love to come out, and you can kind of you never know. He might go tell the next teacher, and then they're like, "Hey, I'd love to do that." And then eventually, maybe you go through the whole staff, and you get people out there. So creating buy-in, especially when they know you have their back, and you kind of create that buzz inside the school building.
Yeah, Coach Billy Mills at Dinwiddie in Virginia does a great job of that.
Yeah.
He posts it all on Facebook, so I've stolen some of it. But he does. He like lets teachers give out helmet stickers. He lets teachers. They have like an honorary captain every week. That's a teacher. They do like a video thing where they have like the player who picked the teacher that was going to be the honorary captain make a video like thanking them and all that stuff. But as a football coach, you don't spend that much time with your players. Yes, it's more than a lot of people, but it's really not that much. Their teachers spend honestly more time with them in a week than you do. So, them knowing that like if they have an issue with a player in class, that it's going to be handled goes a long way. And at the end of the day, it's helping you because it's reinforcing the culture of your program that you don't allow things to happen. So I've had teachers thank me because they know like, this kid did this and I don't have to write him up. I can just send the football coach an email or I can, swing by his office or whatever the case is. And, I'm probably not going to have that issue again. But I think another really easy thing that you can do too is we used to do it every week and it was a lot. So we made it every homecoming and senior night. Every player gets their, if you're obviously homecoming and senior night, you're at home. So you get their away jersey. When you pass out jerseys Thursday night or whenever you do it, and they pick a teacher that they give their jersey to wear for that day. We all know that jerseys are a lot tighter than they used to be. So a lot of them will just like hang it on the back of their chair or whatever. And what I do is I have, I tell the players, hey, these guys are off limits. Coaching staff, don't give it to them. Pick a teacher, administrator, whoever you want. Give them the jersey. tell them why you're giving it to them. Don't just be like, hey, here's my jersey, wear it today and walk away. Tell them the impact that they've had on your life. Tell them, why you like their class, whatever it is, and then say, hey, I'd really like for you to wear my jersey today.
Custodians are a good one too.
Yeah, anybody in the
lunch
building,
people, yeah.
right? Anybody in the building who's not on the coaching staff.
Yeah.
And it's obviously not a dig at us, but I don't want them to take the easy way out and bring me 6 jerseys.
Yeah.
And they've made it like a competition thing too. Like they'll be like, "Oh, I'm getting to school at 7:00 because I got to make sure that so and so has my jersey today."
Yeah.
And I have them all take a picture. Whether the person's wearing the jersey or holding the jersey, take a picture with them. Send it to me. I'll post it on our Facebook page and all that stuff. And I'll tag all the teachers that follow the Facebook page and all that. And a lot of parents, a lot of teachers, a lot of community members really love that. So it's something that, again, it's a little bit more work on us because instead of only watching the home jerseys, you're watching the home and the away.
Yeah.
But at some point you got to decide, like, am I willing to do a little bit more laundry to have a couple more teachers in my corner?
Yeah.
Not to the extent that they're going to like let stuff slide in their class with players and stuff like that. I don't want that. I want them to feel like they can come to me if they have an issue, whether it's grades, whether it's behavior, whatever it is, and know, like, okay, Coach Rat's going to take care of business. I'm not going to have this issue anymore. And that doesn't even, like, a lot of the time at this point, I don't even run the kids for it. A lot of the time it's a conversation. It's a difficult conversation for the kid, letting them know that you're disappointed in them. Letting them know that, you have a relationship with that teacher. They're going to come to you if there's a problem. So let's make sure that we're representing the program well. Let's make sure that we're doing the right thing. And, the rest of it will take care of itself.
Yeah. A quick story. When I was at Tallwood, we had a teacher, and God bless her, but she was difficult. And, and it is what it is. She's just one of those teachers you had one in high school, coach, where you just know, like,
oh yeah,
you don't want that class, right? And so it was, and we kind of got some buy-in from teachers, and she was one, like, she didn't like football, she didn't like, I don't know, she just was that person, right? And we were working on her, and we had, she had a lot of our kids, and we kind of got to the point where she started to see a change in our kids in her class. And she kind of was kind of a little buying in a little bit. She would ask, how'd the game go, and stuff like that. And we had given her a shirt, and we didn't know we'd never see it, right? And then one day, the kids let us. They come down to class, and she had, like, in her cork board, she had, like, pinned it up. She didn't wear it. She didn't wear it, but she had pinned it up, and so it's like, hey, little things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, you never know. And then, she never came to a game, at least while I was there. But we'll see. Who knows how it changed. But
right.
That's the other thing. She might have been like, hey, the football players did this for me, and she'll remember that.
That's the other thing too. And it's like, I don't have the conversation every year, but more often than not, like, I tell the kids, like, look, not everybody loves football.
Yeah.
Not everybody loves athletics. By now, by like your sophomore or junior year, you probably know who those teachers are that don't like football or athletics. So just know that if they don't let you have your phone in their class, you don't take your phone out in their class. You don't talk while the teacher's talking. You shouldn't do it anyway, but like, you have to make sure that you're crossing every T and dotting every I when you're in that teacher's class, because they're just looking for something. And it's a shame that it's that way, but that's the reality of it. You know what I mean? I mean, plenty of teachers don't like sports. Plenty of people in the world don't like sports. But at the end of the day, like, you're not going to change that person, especially not by acting bad. So just, if they ask you to do something, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, sit down, do it. And, just try and stay out of the way until that bell rings.
Yeah. Here's one for you, Coach. And we can move on and kind of get some other things in a minute. But I want to ask you this one: what would be top three things that you would do when you're hired?
Top three things.
And it could be more or whatever. Just kind of some thoughts.
I think number one, you got to meet your kids. I don't know like what kind of avenue you want this to go on, but I think the first thing you got to do is meet your kids. And this is kind of after like you've met with the principal and all that stuff. You meet your kids, I think as soon as you can. Obviously if it's a later hire, then it may be more difficult. But I think you have like a football interest meeting or whatever you want to call it. You meet your kids, tell them about yourself, all that stuff. I think that you contact teachers. I have an email, and it's been the same exact email for however long now that I send before every school year. But when you get the job, no matter when that is, you send an email letting them know, my name, this is how you can reach me, this and that. If you have any problems with any players, please let me know. Basically what we've been talking about, but, let them know that you have their back, that you're not looking for excuses or ways out for your players. You're looking for them to do the right thing all the time. And I think the third thing is I guess part of meeting the players is, you're passing out all your information, your schedule, calendar, whatever you want to call it. And then you got to start meeting either community members / parents, prominent people in your community, not just the people who are, donating money or anything like that. People who have been around, people who you need to be able to see their face and their name. And you can call them by name and have a conversation and all that stuff. I think, this is where I'm at. Those are the top three things that, I think set you on a course to be successful. Obviously, it has nothing to do with being on the field. Nothing to do with anything really involving, what you want to do with your program. I think it's about showing that you have a commitment to the program. And you want to meet these people who have an influence on not only your kids, but your program and what you're trying to do.
Kind of switch gears to this because I put it on there. I didn't really have it prepared. Kind of want to see what you would say. But administrative curveballs, maybe something that a principal specifically maybe would ask. Maybe something that most coaches wouldn't be prepared for. I don't know if you've been in those situations or if you've heard anything. I don't know if you have or not, but
I haven't had anything that I was just like, Now, I was at an interview. Well, it was a phone interview. I was on an interview on the phone with a school. I'm not going to say the state or anything like that. But the principal, I was talking about, the job. I thought the interview was going pretty well. They asked what my wife did. I said she was a teacher. And I said, well, I'm a teacher as well. They never asked any teaching questions up to this point. And I was like, if I got the job, would there be a position for me? Would there be a position for her? How does that work? And they were like, well, if you get the job, you can apply to be a teacher and your wife can apply to be a teacher as well. And if you're the top candidate for the position, then we'll offer you the job. The teaching job, not the football job.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's really a curveball. I think you were leaning towards like a interesting question or something like that. But that was something that I like. I got off the phone and I was just like, okay. And I mean, maybe the whole time they were like, there's no way we're hiring this dude, which is very possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting.
Mm-hmm. Here's one, and I kind of throw it at you because every principal wants to know how you can bring value,
Right?
not just in football and stuff like that.
Of course.
How can you? I'm kind of nicking this one up. what's your plan to bring value to the school through the athletics of football?
Yeah, I think really like, and I kind of touched on this earlier. I guess not really, but by improving the culture of the program, you're improving the culture of the building.
Yeah.
Um, I've people have said like, a couple of guys back in Virginia have said like, this is as a head football coach, you're one of the more powerful people in the building. There's like the principal, the assistant principals, athletic director, football coach. Um, do I agree with that? Not necessarily. But I think, that adds a lot of value to what you do as well. Is, if you're improving your program culture, a lot of the time just by sheer numbers, right? You're helping out the culture of that school. Um, and you're taking care of a lot of issues that you may have um, as a principal or as an administrator in general, to make sure everything is kind of collectively running smoothly. But as far as like non-answers like that, I think yes, we spend a lot of time at school, right? We spend a lot of time obviously teaching, and then you have your football stuff that you got to do and all those things. But I think asking people if they need help is something that isn't done very much anymore. Whether it be working a gate for a game, whether it be working the concession stand for a game, all of those things are things that bring value to yourself. Um, and then, not just building relationships with your football players, but I take a lot of pride in my ability to build relationships with really any student in our school. Um, there's girls that I see every day that walk by, and I speak and ask them how they're doing, and we may talk about if they play soccer, how the game was the previous night or whatever the case is. Um, you know, trying to have a positive relationship with as many people as you can, because obviously as a coach, there's a lot of people who don't like you because you're not doing exactly what they want you to do. That's just the reality of the situation. That old Nick Saban quote, where if you want to make everybody happy, sell ice cream. You're never going to make everybody happy, no matter what you do. So, I think the more people that you can impact in a positive way day to day, is always going to help.
All right, last thing about this interview, because we're gonna nail the job and we're gonna get it. But what are some surefire questions you should ask? Because they're always going to give you time. And I know you kind of hit on a couple of things, but what are some questions that you should ask to kind of maybe put it back on them, or kind of make them be like, "Man, that's a good question." What have you had some of those, or you ever heard of some of those questions?
Yeah, I think the question that I always ask is, what is the current GPA of your football team? Because at the end of the day, right, they're student athletes. At the end of the day, you're a teacher. Well, a lot of the time you're a teacher, not always.
Yeah.
You want them to know, you want the administrator, whoever is in your interview, to know that you're concerned about the football player as a whole. You're concerned about them academically, you're concerned about them socially, all that stuff. So, that's something that I ask a lot of the time, and I don't know if it's ever been answered. I don't know if anybody has walked into an interview and said, I asked that question, and they're like, oh, it's a 2.5 or, whatever. I have no clue. But I do know that a lot of the time, administrators have said that was, it was a question that they haven't gotten before. I don't think that, personally, my opinion, I don't think that it's appropriate to ask like how many people they're interviewing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's appropriate to ask, when you'll hear back. Um, that's just my opinion. I know people that have. Um, maybe if you have a relationship with somebody that like outside of the interview process, then you can ask that question. But I would not take that time to ask that. I would keep it strictly like you know, what can you do that's going to show them that, you're not just concerned about like winning football games on Friday night. Um, and that's the biggest one that I try to always take is, I care about academics as well. And you want that to be extremely evident, I think, when you're leaving the interview. And a lot of the time, do you have any questions is the last thing that they ask. So you're leaving them with that question that, again, a lot of time they can't answer. But it shows that you're not just worried about football.
And they're not asking that just to be like, well, let's be polite and see if he has anything. Like they genuinely want to see, like, hey, what's he
Yeah.
got? What's he got? Is he, kind of? It also gauges your interest as well. You know, this is your seventh interview in 2 weeks. You know, you might be like, yeah, okay, appreciate it. I don't really have anything. Because you're kind of trying to speed through the process. But
Right.
if you take the time, one, to research the place, two, to
Absolutely.
find out more about it and that whole program as a whole, and you ask great questions, and you're basically can see that you're bought in. So
Yeah, I mean, and there's so many other things that you can ask too.
yeah,
Obviously, again, I wouldn't ask about like, well, how much money's in the football account, or things like that. That to us is like, wow, that'd be really dumb.
yeah,
Um, but I've heard of it happening before. Um, you know, I think there's so many things that you can ask about that aren't necessarily football related. Um, but can promote you in a positive light and give the interview committee or whoever something to think about that wasn't just, yeah, that interview was good or bad. Um, so I think some kind of academic question, some kind of question regarding, um, I've asked a principal like, how do you feel about athletics? You know, do if I don't know them, have you ever
yeah.
coached before? Um, do you have kids? That kind of thing. Just, not necessarily looking for like something that's going to promote me, but even if it's just something to get to know the principal a little bit better. Because again, it's about relationships.
Well, Coach, I think this podcast has been fantastic. Even been on this side of it, kind of facilitating.
I know it was like a lot of me talking, and I'm sorry
No, it's
if
all good.
that's been annoying, but I
No,
I hope that something that I said was helpful to somebody.
heck yeah. I mean, we're here talking to each other, so
Yeah.
um,
I would love to know if anybody's gotten any like crazy curveball questions. I would be interested in hearing some of them.
yeah, I might pose that question on Twitter coming up.
Definitely should.
Kind of see. All right, Coach. Best part of the podcast.
It's your week too.
Yeah, man. This was kind of it's not really it's not difficult. It's not personal, but you have to get personal, I guess.
Okay.
And I'll do mine as well. What was the process? And tell me the story of you proposing to your wife.
Okay. All right. So I just randomly like told my parents one night, um, I want to ask Nadine to marry me. And my mom kind of laughed and I was like, no, I'm being serious. She was like, Ian, like, you're young, you don't know. I'm like, no, I know. So we talked about it a little bit or whatever, and they were like, well, do you need help picking out a ring? So they went with me actually to like a bunch of different jewelry stores and all that stuff. So we picked the ring. And I we were going to Hawaii. One of my best friends growing up worked at Newport News Shipyard, and that he got sent out there to Hawaii for a couple months and had a 2-bedroom townhouse and was like, hey, if y'all come, pay for the flights, whatever, and y'all can stay with me. So my whole thought process was I was going to ask her in Hawaii. Um, had it all planned out, like had some stuff, like my buddy was prepared, all that stuff. And we were at dinner one night with like it was somebody's birthday, I think, and like a bunch of our friends, and her best friend was like, hey, are you going to ask Nadine to marry you in Hawaii? And I was like, I just kind of looked around for a second. She was like, oh my God, you are, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, I was thinking about it. And she was like, well, that's what she thinks. She thinks it's going to be in Hawaii. And I'm just like, hmm. So a couple weekends later, might have been a month, I don't know. We're in the Outer Banks at her best friend's beach house that they rented, and all of her friends are there. A couple of my friends are there, and I brought the ring with me. I don't know why. I brought it with me, and I went up to her friend and I was like, "No, I'm going to do it here." And she was like, "What?" So we go to the beach. It's freezing cold. It was like October. We go to the beach and they're like, "Oh, let's take pictures. Let's take pictures." So we go like in front of the ocean or whatever, like we haven't ever seen it before.
Yeah,
And we're taking pictures or whatever. And I just got down on one knee and asked her.
that's crazy.
So not as cool as a Hawaii idea because we had it like I had like this huge plan and like we were
Yeah,
gonna do this hike and it was gonna be
yeah,
like this big thing and really between that time when her friend asked me and when it happened, like I was like, man, it's not really her. Like I think she would have rather had it like if I asked her with her friends there, than something like this big extravagant, you know, thing. Not that I was gonna like have like rose petals and stuff like that, but like something crazy like that just isn't really up.
yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So
I almost fell over too in the sand.
really,
So yeah, it was tough.
so mine, and I don't know. I don't think Taylor's watching because there's one person watching on YouTube, and I don't know if it's her or not. But she's at my brother's house right now, so I don't think so. So we were going. My sister-in-law, she's graduating high school,
Hmm.
and her like graduation because well, it was delayed because she graduated during COVID,
Gotcha.
like right after COVID, so everything was like really it was crazy. So she wanted to get like a senior trip or anything like that. So we went to Savannah, and Savannah's really
Love
pretty.
it there. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
and I'm not one big for plans. Like I'm not saying I'm not a romantic person, but like I'm like, hey, everybody's gonna be there, right? My family wasn't, but yeah, I don't. It was all right. So her family was there, and so I asked her sister. I was like, McKenzie, are you would it be okay on your senior trip,
Right.
graduation trip, whatever you want to call it, like if I proposed? And she was like, duh, please do. And so I had it all. I didn't really have a plan. Like in my mind, I'm like, hey, this is gonna happen. She's gonna say yes. Like it is what it is.
Right.
Because like I think it's hilarious. People are like, I'm so nervous. Like, what are you nervous about? She'll say
Right.
no. You should be.
Yeah, I mean, I knew for sure she was going to say yes. The scariest
Yeah,
part for me was asking her dad, and I knew he was going to say yes, but it
yeah.
was just
Like
like
I got a story about that too. But yeah.
starting the conversation was tough.
Tell me about it. So I'm definitely gonna be showing this to him later. Shout out to my father-in-law Tommy. So yeah, so we went to Savannah, and it was great. We stayed in Tybee Island, right there on the beach, and it was like a joint like vacation between a couple of families, people that were also graduating, stuff like that. So we went down to they're supposed to like take pictures, right? Oh, it's family pictures and the Kings is graduating. Great. I was like, well, I'm gonna do it then. It's easy, dude. When you say that yo, we down to the beach, we went down to the beach
Oh yeah, got
to
to.
take pictures. And Taylor's like, I knew you were gonna propose. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. She's like, no, I saw the ring in your pocket. And I was like,
Oh no.
I don't care. I'm like, I'm a big boy. I have big pants, so I feel like and they're black pants, and I feel like I could hide it. It is what it is. Thinking about it more, I should have had whoever's taking our pictures, which
Oh
was
yeah.
like it was like one of the friends. Like I should have had like them have it. And they were taking pictures, and then the same thing. I just like went down on one knee, and it was kind of like should I turn around and proposed. But I did have another plan that was more thought out, and I was like, nah, it's not gonna work out because we weren't gonna be in Savannah all dressed up.
Right.
And so when we went to Savannah, we went down the river walk, whatever you want to call it, like to go shopping and stuff. We weren't like dressed up. And so I was like, I wanted to do it. Have you been to Savannah?
It was a long time ago.
Okay, so like in Maine, like downtown Savannah, there's like a stretch, it's almost like a park right down the main, and there's like all these trees that go down, and
Right.
there's Spanish moss all through it. And like the thing about Spanish moss is when they like find a mate in Spanish moss and they grow together, like they
Right.
grow like for life. So it's like all that mushy stuff.
Dang.
And
All
you
right.
know,
That was romantic.
I know. And so I was going to do it there, kind of like with the like. I think Spanish moss is like I think it's very like it's dope. I think it looks
Oh, yeah, it's
great in
cool.
the trees. So we're going to do it there, but again, we weren't going to be dressed up. And if we were like, oh, let's all get dressed up, go to Savannah, like it was going to be pretty obvious.
All right.
And so, but yeah, did it on the beach, man. And like I said, if there's any young people watching and they're like, oh, I'm really really nervous to propose, like, dude, she's gonna say yes. If she doesn't, then she's not the right one. So,
In fact.
but yeah, but talking about asking your father-in-law. Tommy's my dude, so that wasn't awkward. He knew it was coming.
Right.
Like we literally went to church one Sunday, and I rode back with just him. And I got back to her parents' house, and Taylor was with her grandma. They rode separately, and he was like, I'm awkward, so I was like, kind of, we were in the garage. And he was like, so I hear you need to ask you something. I was like, God. And so it was like, so we went into it, and it was like, yeah, like I would love, I love Taylor, and I would love to marry her, and like, da 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 da.
Right.
And we had a great conversation. He was just telling me like, hey man, like this and that about her, and just growing up, and she's always been independent. Like he had like all this great like response to me that you would hope a father-in-law would. And so
Right.
we had a great conversation, and got his permission, and I asked your grandma too, so that was huge. Now people don't do that.
Right.
Her grandma, she calls her Mimi. Mimi is huge in her life, so that's one person I wanted to ask too.
Right.
It's like a last like surviving grandparent too, so that's huge.
Right.
But yeah, like it could be that's the part that can be nerve wracking.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I had I can't remember like how it happened or something like that. But we were at their house for dinner, and I think we were going like out with friends that night or something like that. And she was like getting ready she was still living at home at the time. So she was getting ready in her room, and it was just me and me and her dad in the living room. And I was like, hey, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about. And he was like, oh yeah. And I was like, I want to ask Nadine to marry me. And he was like, really? I was like, yeah. And I mean, by this time we'd been together I think we dated for like 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, well, it's about time. I was like, thanks. I appreciate that. But yeah, we got a great relationship. So like I said, I wasn't worried about like him saying no or like the conversation going bad. It was just like getting up the nerve to say like to start the conversation really.
He's retired now, but my father-in-law, he was a Charlotte police officer, so
Oh, nice.
yeah, that's also a little added intimidation with it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, man. Yeah, I was thinking like, what question I'm gonna ask? I was like, let's get like we're both married. Let's get a little personal with it because everybody has a story,
Right.
of good and bad with planning it and figuring it out,
Absolutely.
actually happening. So, 100%.
Yeah, that's a good one. I liked it. I
Yeah.
like it.
And I want to keep away from sports too. So,
Yeah. You did good. You did good. That's one of the better ones, I feel like.
but yeah. Do you have anything for the folk, Coach, before we cut it off? It's getting later. We both have to get up. So
Yeah. Keep learning, keep doing it for the kids. Appreciate y'all who have been with us for 14 episodes now. I mean the support, the followers that have come in recently, all that stuff, it means a lot. It literally started with us joking about doing this and thought it would be cool and fun, and now it's gotten to where people actually watch us. So it's incredible. It's been a lot of fun to be a part of. So appreciate you, Coach. I appreciate all the coaches that have been hanging out with us the last couple of weeks. And happy to answer any questions. If there's anything you want us to talk about, we'd love to.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, 14 episodes is kind of crazy. And I literally have people be like, "Hey, man, what's the topic this week?" And I'm like, "Dude, you gotta either unless it's asked from somebody else." I'm like, "Gotta come find out."
Yeah,
Kind of,
surprise.
yeah, surprise. Come hang out with us. Come up, bring questions and stuff like that. But yeah, this thing has grown, and I definitely want it to grow even more.
I got one more thing.
What's up?
We got to give a special shout out to our guy, Coach Johnson.
Yes.
New job. Congratulations.
Yes.
Maybe he'll be watching or listening while he's working out tomorrow morning.
Yeah, he will 100%. Try to coach. I'm gonna text him like, "Stay to the end."
No, don't say anything. We'll see if he says anything to figure out if he watched or not.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, "Yeah, I watched." Like, "Oh, did you?" Okay. But yeah, shout out to Coach Johnson, our guy. He's been on here before. He's new head football coach at Green Hope in Cary, North Carolina. So really big opportunity for him to take over that program. So
absolutely,
we want to support good guys. And
no doubt.
If you got anything to say, kiss my butt. Anyway, but yeah, for Coach Rapp, I'm Coach Tatum. Like you said, make sure you coach for the right reasons. Coaching for these kids, trying to give them a great opportunity, a great experience in high school.
Absolutely,
do something positive and change their lives going into the next phase of their life. So take it as a mission field like I do, and Coach Rapp does. So appreciate everybody for watching. And like, comment, subscribe, man, to the YouTube channel, and make sure you follow the Twitter page. CT Culture Pod. It's growing, and doing some great things over here. So again, appreciate you for watching, and for both Ians.
That's right.
Yeah, we're out. See y'all next week.
See y'all.